Look at a political map of Spain, and you won't see one country, you'll see 17. Each colored patch is an autonomous community with its own parliament, its own president, its own budget. Some have their own languages. One even collects its own taxes. Spain is not officially a federation, yet its regions govern more of daily life than the states of many federal countries. How did a nation once famous for iron-fisted centralism end up as one of the most decentralized places on Earth? That story starts with a dictator's funeral. For nearly 40 years under General Francisco Franco, Spain was run like a wheel with one hub. Every road of power led to Madrid. Regional parliaments abolished. The Catalan and Basque languages were pushed out of schools and public life. Children were taught that Spain was one eternal, indivisible nation. The old regional identities didn't die. They went indoors, into kitchens and choirs and folk dances. When Franco died in 1975, they came back out, and they wanted guarantees. Spain's new democracy faced an impossible negotiation. Conservatives who feared the country breaking apart, and Basques and Catalans who would accept nothing less than self-government. The 1978 Constitution answered with a famous balancing act. Article 2 declares the indissoluble unity of the Spanish nation, and in the same sentence guarantees the right to autonomy of its nationalities and regions. One phrase for each side of the table. On that compromise, an entire system was built, the State of Autonomies. Between 1979 and 1983, the map filled in. 17 autonomous communities, from Galicia's green northwest corner, along the Cantabrian coast, through Asturias, Cantabria, and the Basque Country, Navarra and Little La Rioja, Aragon and Catalonia in the northeast, the two Castiles wrapped around Madrid, Valencia and Murcia down the Mediterranean, Extremadura on the Portuguese border, Andalusia sprawling across the south, and two archipelagos, the Balearics and the far-off Canaries, plus Ceuta and Melilla, two autonomous cities on the North African coast. The Constitution's authors imagined autonomy mainly for the historic nationalities. What happened instead is remembered by a phrase, Café para todos, coffee for everyone. If Catalonia was getting a parliament, why not Murcia? Why not La Rioja? Region after region filed for autonomy, some by the fast constitutional route, most by the slow one, until the entire country was covered in communities. Critics called it dilution, supporters called it fairness. Either way, a solution designed for 3 regions became a system of 17. 3 communities carry the label historic nationalities: Catalonia, the Basque Country, and Galicia, the regions with their own languages and pre-war statutes of autonomy. For them, autonomy wasn't a decentralization experiment, it was restitution. Catalonia revived its Generalitat, an institution dating to the Middle Ages. The Basques restored self-rule, rooted in ancient charters called fueros. Galicia, poorer and quieter, took the same road with less noise. Their statutes came first and set the ceiling every other region would reach for. So what does an autonomous community actually do? The big things you touch every day. Your hospital and your doctor, regional. Your children's school and their teachers, regional. Universities, housing, agriculture, culture, most policing of daily life in some regions, regional. Taken together, the communities spend roughly 1/3 of all public money in Spain and employ most of its civil servants. When Spaniards argue about waiting lists or school curricula, they're usually arguing with their regional government, not with Madrid. One region plays by different financial rules entirely. Under the Concierto Económico, The Basque Country, and through a similar arrangement, Navarra, collects its own income and corporate taxes, then negotiates a payment to Madrid for shared expenses like defense and diplomacy. Every other region gets money from the center. The Basques send money to it. The system descends from medieval charters and survived because abolishing it was politically unthinkable. It has made the Basque Country one of Spain's richest regions and one of its most envied. Spain has one official state language, Castilian Spanish, and a chorus of co-official ones, Catalan in Catalonia and the Balearics, and its Valencian variant, Basque, a language with no known relatives in the Basque Country and northern Navarra. Galician, cousin to Portuguese, in Galicia. Once banned from classrooms, they now run them. In much of Catalonia, school is taught mainly in Catalan. For supporters, that's a language rescued in a single generation. For critics, it shortchanges Spanish speakers. Language remains the rawest nerve in Spanish politics. Every few years, Spain's regions open the books and fight. Catalonia complains it pays far more into the common pot than it gets back. Poorer regions answer that solidarity is the whole point of a country. Madrid is accused of using capital status and low taxes to vacuum up companies. The Basque deal is envied by everyone. The financing formula is so complex that almost no one defends it, and so contested that no government dares rewrite it. The money wars never quite end. They just change channels. The system's greatest crisis came in October 2017. Catalonia's government held an independence referendum that Spain's courts had declared illegal. Police were sent to stop the vote. The images went around the world. Weeks later, the Catalan parliament declared independence, and Madrid answered with Article 155, suspending the region's autonomy and taking direct control. Leaders were jailed or fled abroad. Autonomy returned within months, but the scars, the pardons, and the amnesty fights that followed have shaped Spanish politics ever since. Is Spain a federation? Officially, no. The Constitution never uses the word. Sovereignty rests with the Spanish nation as a whole, and the Senate is a weak regional chamber. Functionally, though, Spain's communities outgovern many federal states. They run schools, hospitals, and police forces, and no statute can be changed without their consent. Political scientists split the difference and call it a quasi-federation, or use Spain's own term, the State of Autonomies, a country that behaves federally while insisting it isn't. The system has critics on every side. Centralists count 17 health services, 17 education departments, and see duplication, bureaucracy, and a country impossible to steer in a crisis. Nationalists in Catalonia and the Basque Country see a cage. Autonomy, in their view, was the consolation prize, not the destination. And citizens sometimes fall through the cracks between governments. As Spaniards bitterly debated during floods and the pandemic, when regions and Madrid pointed fingers at each other while problems sat unclaimed in between. And yet, step back. Languages that were once whispered are now taught to millions. Regions that never governed themselves have run their own affairs for 4 decades. Spain has held together through coups attempted and referendums defied, without redrawing a single border. Its regions rank among the most self-governing in Europe. The State of Autonomies is untidy, expensive, and permanently argued over, and it has outlasted every prediction of its collapse. In a country this plural, maybe permanent argument, is what holding together looks like. Spain's autonomous map is often called a mosaic, 17 pieces, each a different shape and color, pressed into one frame. Lean close and you see the cracks. Step back and you see a picture. The 1978 pact never settled what Spain finally is: one nation, or a nation of nationalities. It just built a house where the question could be argued without being shot over. Half a century on, the argument continues, loudly in 5 languages. The mosaic holds. In Spain, that counts as a masterpiece.